Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Can We Be Grateful for the Things We Wish Didn't Happen? And this idea came up for me when I was watching an interview that took place several years ago between Anderson Cooper and Stephen Colbert. And Anderson Cooper had just lost his mother, and they were talking about grief. And Anderson Cooper also lost his brother and his father when he was young. And Stephen Colbert lost his father and his two brothers in a plane crash when he was young as well. And they both were talking about the fact that even though these losses happened so long ago, they're with them all the time. And then Anderson said, in a way, I've always wanted to have like a scar on my face so people will always see that this is with me, that I'm not the person that I was meant to be, because this loss changed me. And then Stephen Colbert replies to him and says, you are entirely the person that you are supposed to be. And then Stephen Colbert goes on to say, it's a gift to exist, and with existence comes suffering. There's no escaping that. And I've learned to become grateful for the thing I most wish hadn't happened. It doesn't mean you want it to happen, but if you're grateful for your life, which I think is a positive thing to do, then you have to be grateful for all of it. You can't pick and choose what you're grateful for. And then, so what do you get from loss? You get an awareness of other people's loss, which allows you to connect with that other person, which allows you to love more deeply and to understand what it's like to be a human being. And Steve Colbert ended by saying, I want to be the most human I can be. And that involves acknowledging and ultimately being grateful for the things I wish didn't happen. And for most of us listening to this podcast, we've all had different types of loss and grief in our lives. Perhaps not as traumatic as Anderson and Stephen, but enough that we could understand what it's like sometimes to feel that grief, to feel that loss. And what I thought was interesting, when we talk about gratitude, especially on this podcast, I always talk about the things that you love in your life that we should be grateful for. But Stephen's actually talking about the fact you have to be grateful for everything, the whole, the existence, because we can't have this life without suffering. And if you think about it, every minute there's something we could think about that will make us laugh and make us happy. And I bet you there's something you could all think about that would make you cry. It's always all happening at the same time. And this is part of existing. And part of existing has joy, and part of existing has suffering. So then what he is saying, that if we are grateful for it all, then we embrace everything in our lives. If things stay separate, if we deny what we don't like, then we don't fully process it. Then we walk around wounded in a way that we don't share that part of ourselves. So in a way, we put certain things in the corner and they fester, and perhaps they close our heart. Perhaps they stop us from being close to people. Perhaps we are less open-hearted because we refuse to incorporate that sadness or that grief or that thing that happened into our entire life. We just avoid it. But if we are really grateful for everything, then everything becomes part of us and everything becomes part of our lives. The joy, the wounds, the suffering, the laughing, the achievements, and then we are fully embodied. And then when we meet somebody, we're going to be open-hearted in a way that we will most likely be able to share love on another level, to have more compassion for what they're going through, to understand their suffering more, and live a deeper, more meaningful life. Because even when the things happen that we don't like, there are always lessons. And we can call them gifts, like Stephen called them, or we can call them wisdom. And it's not that we would have chosen these things in our lives, but if we don't make them part of the whole, then they own us in a way that we can't really be who we are. Because then we're always hiding and we're always overcompensating, that we're not really truly moving on and embracing life in front of us and embracing the people around us. No matter what happens in our lives, when we don't accept it, we can never land. We could never find peace. We could never move forward whole. But when we accept it and we say, well, this is who I am. I might not have been this person when I was 10 or 15, but in this moment, with all the things that have happened in my life, as I embrace it all, as I see it as a gift of being alive, as I am grateful for my existence, then that wound becomes the fabric of who we are. And we could cover it with love and understanding and share it and possibly repair it and possibly heal it or possibly make a beautiful, wonderful life. And I really like this idea of all of us embracing everything that's happened in our lives as a gift. Because everything that's happened in our lives brought us all to this moment. And in this moment, we have the hope and possibility that we could have the life that we want from this day forward. And that means all the good things that have happened, all the bad things that have made up our life and has brought us here. All the suffering, all the joy, all the grief, whatever it's been. And if we could stand here and not feel broken and feel whole, because we are grateful for it all, because we see that suffering is part of existence, that we all share this common aspect of our lives, that we are grateful for everything. We know it's part of who we are today, and it makes us more human. And we still have hope, and we still have love. And if we're here, we still have infinite possibilities to have so many more experiences, to achieve our goals, to do so many amazing things, even with the hurt, even with the wounds, and with more humanity to connect deeper. And I think sometimes we resist saying this because we didn't like what happened, and it hurts us, and we would rather life be the other way. But again, when we don't accept something, the wound is even deeper. When we don't accept something, we live in the past. And when we don't accept something, we cannot be our most powerful self, which can only happen in the moment. And as Stephen said, he wants to be as human as he can be. And when I think that, it makes me feel like I could reach down to the bottom of my heart and commit that I'm going to connect as much as I can every day and use my happiness and my sadness and everything that's ever happened to me to help more people, to be wiser, to look for new experiences. It really is a richer way to live, and we could be grateful for it all. Then we are going to stand in this moment in the light. And we're going to stand in this moment fully embodied, embracing everything that's ever happened to us. We are sitting up and we are saying we are everything. And that's what makes us our most powerful self. And that's what makes us so present. And that's what makes life so meaningful. And that's what makes us so connected. And we could look at the people around us. And we could look at the things that we've done and feel resilient and feel strong. And then we could look out into the future and know that the unknown will offer us new things. And perhaps within those new things are joy and grief and pain and love and laughter. But when we know this is life, this is existence, and we know that everything can bring us closer to the meaning of life, closer to our heart, closer to love, and understand ourselves and have deeper relationships all in the future. So it doesn't steal our hope, but it makes us realize that there's a lot to life, but it's all part of it. It's all part of the gift. And when we're grateful for it all, we're not in conflict. And when we're grateful for it all, we're going to show up for ourselves and the people that we love, and we're going to hold hope because we know that there's so much more to experience in this lifetime. And if we're fully awake and we're fully ready, then we're also going to be available for all that joy and all that love and all that laughter. Because for all we know, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you could subscribe and leave a comment.